Want to find out how celebrities and leading athletes are using cold exposure and breathwork to enhance their peak performance? My guest today is Steven Roccazzella. He is Tennessee's only Wim Hof certified instructor and Oxygen Advantage functional breathing instructor. He has taught me things about cold therapy and breathwork I had no idea about. So join us as we take a deep dive into these therapies. And as always, if you're making changes to your healthcare or lifestyle, make sure you consult with your healthcare practitioners as needed. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Next Level Healing. I'm your host, Dr. Tara Perry. I am so happy today to be joined by Steven Roccazzella. He is a Wim Hof certified instructor and Oxygen Advantage functional breathing instructor currently in Nashville, Tennessee. Steven holds regular breathwork and cold exposure classes all over Tennessee and the surrounding states. By blending the Wim Hof method with Oxygen Advantage functional breathing practices, Steven has developed a breathwork training system which has been helpful to a wide variety of people, including professional athletes, the music industry professionals, students, therapists, artists, and those struggling with addiction recovery and others. Steven has had the honor of bringing these experiences to bigger audiences here in Nashville, most notably the Nashville Predators hockey team and Deep Tropics Music Film Festival. Deep Tropics Music Festival.
Right.
Welcome, Steven.
Thank you for having me, Tara. I really appreciate it.
Come over just a scoot a little more so your microphone's not blocking your face there.
Right.
There we go. So, I'm a huge breathwork fan. Very aware of, so the states that we can reach with it, the clarity that we can reach with it. How did you first get interested in breathwork?
So I started with the Wim Hof method. It was at a time in my life when I was in a very dark place. I just left a long career in law enforcement and had gone through a divorce, and I'd been on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication for a long time and struggled with panic disorder and PTSD and depression. And I heard about the Wim Hof methods on a podcast, and I started doing the breathing exercise just off of YouTube and taking cold showers. And within a year, I was off of all of the medications, and I stopped having panic attacks. I changed my relationship with my body. Like, it started to feel like a safe place for the first time that I could remember. I struggled with panic since I was a kid. It was just profoundly beneficial. And it was something that I could just do on my own, that I didn't need anybody's permission or a subscription or a prescription or a monthly fee. It was just mine.
Wow.
So yeah, that was my start.
And you were kind of before he became so well known all over the world. What year are we talking about?
This would have been 2016 when I started doing it.
Okay. So I found out about him about 4 years later.
Okay. Yeah.
And at what point did you say, okay, I want to go all in and actually train with him directly?
Sure. That would have been in 2018. I heard that he was coming to the United States to do basically like one of the Wim Hof workshops that I would put on as an instructor, but this was for like 1,000 people, and it was in Santa Monica, California, and I flew out there.
That's my backyard.
Okay, nice.
You stood in my office on Wilshire 18th in Santa Monica.
Yeah, we were at some big convention center. It was cool. And yeah, I flew out from Utah, and I got to meet him there, and that's where I learned that there was Wim Hof instructors. I didn't know that was even a thing. And so that's what inspired me to become an instructor. I wanted to share it with people.
Have any idea how many people have been now certified in his process?
I think there's around 1,000 instructors all over the world.
Because that's shockingly little. It's not an easy thing to go through. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did? And I mean, because
sure,
it's not, when I know two, you're one of two that I know, and it's just. Oh, and the other person that I know who got certified, she went from kind of being, having all kinds of issues and kind of scared and having all kinds of stories that weren't supporting her, and literally looked like a different person after she went through that process.
I believe it. Yeah, Well, I wish you could say her name. I might know her, maybe. Maybe.
When we go off camera.
Okay, all right.
I don't have permission to talk about it anyway.
So yeah, the first step was to go through the old Wim Hof online 10-week course. So after I left the meeting him in Santa Monica, I started that training course, and then I signed up to go to an advanced training where Wim Hof would be there again in California. And that was, I think, maybe almost a year later. So for that first year, I just went through that 10-week program and then just kind of studied and practiced on my own. And then I got to go to this advanced 2-day training. And then from there, maybe 3 or 4 months after that, I went to a 7-day training that was up in the Cascade Mountains by the Canadian border in Washington State. And I was there with 40 people from all over the world that were there to be Wim Hof instructors. And we went through a whole week of just very intense breath work, a lot of science, climbing mountains in our shorts, in the cold. And it was that kind of a thing for about a week. But I'd already been doing a lot of that on my own back in Utah during my own preparatory phase. So like that was just fun for me because I'd already kind of been pushing myself on my own.
Is there a big attrition rate? Do people drop out because it's just too challenging?
I didn't experience that because all of these people, this is what they live for.
Okay.
Like they're already doing this stuff all the time. So it was really easy for us to do it. And we had the community. And of course, Wim has this incredible charisma and personality that just makes you believe you can do anything. And so I didn't see anybody drop out.
Hey guys, studies are showing that 68% of people that watch podcasts regularly don't click the subscribe button. Do me a huge favor. If you like this content, click subscribe so other people know where to go for the cool stuff. Thank you.
And what was the most challenging thing that you did? I mean, I know you guys meet in, I don't know, Iceland or Greenland. So.
Well, he actually came to the United States.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was in 2019 when I went through that training, and we were in the United States for it. But
aren't you in like a natural environment that's like close to freezing?
Yeah. Well, we were in the Cascades, and it was like late. It was like early fall, so it wasn't super cold yet. But we did sit for an extended period of time, I think around maybe 20 to 30 minutes in this like glacier lake that was very, very cold water. And we were all just like huddled up together, and we just sat in there and, up to our neck and just kind of sang and breathed and kept each other warm and supported. That was a pretty tough part of the training for sure.
So what are some of the biological benefits to cold exposure? So when I first heard about Wim Hof, it was on a Tony Robbins thing. And when I heard about the benefits, I haven't taken a warm shower since. I always take a cold shower in the morning. Unless I'm sick or on vacation or something like that, something unusual. But I noticed that I feel so much more resilient to temperature changes. Normally I would have been, throwing on warm clothes if it starts to dip down in temperature. And now I'm just much more, go with the flow.
Right. Yeah. That's so definitely being more resilient to temperature, but that same resilience plays out in other areas of life. And one of the things that I get a lot of feedback about from people that I work with is that they're just less reactive to all sorts of things. When that person cuts them off on the freeway, their boss, their partner, their kid, whoever it is, the neighbor, it's like they just don't react like they used to. They're able to experience a moment of stress and then find their ground again very, very quickly.
Nice.
And that's one of the beautiful things about the cold exposure is that it shocks your body really quickly. But when you find your breath and your mindset, you're able to shift very, very quickly out of that state of stress. Excuse me. And that's just practice for the rest of life. So
that's actually a byproduct when I'm working with people too, going into the subconscious mind. I just notice they have better resilience and better awareness of what's going on around them. So biologically, does it increase growth hormone? What lower cortisol levels, I'm guessing?
So in the short term, it's going to raise stress hormones because your body is under a pretty high state of stress, but it bounces back a lot quicker. So again, just teaching the body how to experience a stressful moment and then recover fast. So they're not as stuck in those like cycles of like prolonged higher cortisol levels and like anxious loops. And that's one of the things that's so beneficial about it is it's introducing stress to the body in the way that the body was meant to experience stress. It's like there is a moment, you move through it, and then there's a completion and it comes to an end, right? And like cold allows our body to complete the process, where when we're scrolling social media or watching the news or one of these other things where it's just doom, 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 fear, 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 and there's nothing we can do about it, then we're like put into the state of stress and there's not a way out. Right. And so when we get stuck in those anxious thought loops and the body gets stuck in a state of fight or flight or stress, getting into a cold shower, doing a cold plunge, that's a way to kind of knock it out of that loop, let it complete a stress cycle and remember what real fear and like real stress is. And then it just changes your mood. Plus you're getting such a big increase in dopamine and adrenaline, which are really good for, elevating your mood and your motivation and your desire and your focus. And so it's hard to explain
to somebody who hasn't experienced it, but I did my first ice bath again, a Tony Robbins thing, and gosh, coming out of it, it's just it's like the state of euphoria.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of dopamine and adrenaline running through your body, and again, it's like this just sense of invigoration and like pride in yourself and just doing a really hard thing, and like feeling good about what you just did. And like people need that. Like we need a win every once in a while, and yeah, every time I take an ice bath in the early days, it was like that was a win for me in a time when I felt like I couldn't really get one.
And of course, Wim Hof, he turned to cold therapy because he was so distraught because his wife had committed suicide and he was feeling a lot of emotions that he really didn't feel like he could cope with otherwise.
Right.
So who do you find the people most attracted to this work and who most benefit from it? Are they, who do you find that most of your clients are?
So because I work in this, in the treatment and in recovery community, I'm often working with people that that's not on their radar at all. Where when I do a Wim Hof workshop, it's a different type of client, right? Like those people are already in the wellness space. They're already proactive about their health and they're looking to gain new tools. But when I'm working in the treatment center setting, and that's my main clientele, it's people that have a lot of trauma. They're very, very emotionally and physically sensitive. They're dealing with a lot of health issues. They're kind of fragile in a way, and they're very familiar with panic. And so I've had to kind of develop a way of presenting this that they feel safe. And that's where I think I see the best results, is with the people that didn't even know that this wasn't even on their radar at all. And they do this and they're like, wow. I mean, I've had so many people that when I first met them, they're like, there's no way I'm getting in that water. There's no way I'm not even going to touch it. Which is not what you would hear if you were doing like a Wim Hof workshop, right? Everyone's like, they're there for that thing. Well, now I'm in an audience full of people that don't want anything to do with this. Yeah. And then after I spend a little time with them, they feel encouraged, they do it. And then oftentimes by the last time I see them, they're like, so where do I get one of these tubs? Like how much time can I spend in that water safely? Like how far can I push
those 50 pounds of ice cost?
It's literally, those are the questions I'm getting. So that is where I get such a huge boost myself in seeing these people that were so afraid of this do it, and then realize that the truth that they find about themselves in that water is true in every area of their life. It's not just there, and that's so beautiful. So yeah, they're a pain in the ass to work with, but it's like when you get them to do it and they see it, it's the most rewarding thing. So I get more joy out of that than even the people that are already doing this stuff regularly, and I love it all though. So,
and talk about resilience. I know Wim Hof wanted to show the medical community how incredible it is. So they actually injected him with E. coli.
Right. It was an E. coli endotoxin that was supposed to make him feel sick for have flu symptoms for, I think 8 to 10 hours or something. Yeah. And he was able to.
And nothing. It did no temperature increase at all. No symptoms at all.
Yep. Less than an hour. He had fought through that thing with no symptoms.
And do we know what chemicals have been produced in his blood that allowed him to be so resilient, or is that still a bit of an unknown?
So what we know is that Wim, through the breathing exercise, was able to produce as much adrenaline as somebody that was like bungee jumping or skydiving, just by lying in a bed doing this breathing exercise, and it was the big release of adrenaline that reduced the inflammatory response from the immune system. And that was the connection. I'm sorry about this tick.
No, it's, I have some water.
So that was the factor. It was inducing a fight or flight response in the body in this controlled, safe way. And it changed his physiology, and his immune system responded to that, where it was still effective, but there wasn't such a big inflammatory reaction. Right. So that was the connection.
I'm loving how, as we dive into all this, and I love to say we stand on the shoulders of giants, like the Joe Dispenza community has found that there's a protein that gets more plentiful in the blood that's very, very protective against COVID and other types of illness called Serpin A5. So it's really exciting at the time period that we're living in, where this stuff is starting to become better known. What is the connection between breath work and cold therapy? Why do they go so well together?
So the breath work that you would do, if we're talking about the Wim Hof method, the breathing exercise that we do before we cold plunge is designed to prepare the body for that experience. The blood gets very alkaline. We produce the adrenaline, and those two things will help reduce the pain response. Right. So we feel less pain, and that helps us get through those initial moments in the cold. Right. But the way that you breathe when you're in the ice bath is very different. It's all about calm breath. It's literally about, it's using your breath as a way to send affirmations of safety to the body. It's like the body doesn't always respond right away to like my thoughts. I can like talk to my body in English and it may not get the message, but if I breathe like a long exhale, soft like a whisper, I breathe low in my belly, my body will interpret that as permission to come out of that fight or flight response, right? And so the ice bath itself is a breathing exercise. It's a chance to practice catching your breath and slowing it down and softening it and softening through the muscles in the body. You know, it's not to like get in there and like clench and grit and tough it out. It's about being soft and open and letting the shoulders fall away from the ears and just breathing, sigh of relief. If you can do that in that water, you can do it any time that you need to, right? So I thought there's a breathing exercise.
I actually had one incredibly but blissful experience in a cold plunge. It was 46 degrees, and I went in for 7 minutes. I could have stayed in longer.
Wow, 7 minutes is good.
Yeah, and I just, I know the little trick where you put your hands on your thighs and you're aware of the warmth there. And I just... I guess because of all the Dispenza meditations I've done, but I went into my pineal gland and it was like this light blue color, and it was so blissful. It's almost like a forced meditation. It's like you're so present that there's this delicious relaxation that goes along with it.
Yeah. And the ice itself, the cold water helps the body shift into that state, especially when we can get into about the collarbones, where we start to activate the mammalian dive reflex, which is a very strong parasympathetic response. So when that water, when it initially hits us, it's a shock and we go up. But then when we can breathe through that initial shock, it's like the water itself helps us shift into that more parasympathetic, that slower heart rate, softer breath, the no more adrenaline being produced. You know, it's like it slows you down quite a bit. And so for a lot of people that deal with like anxiety and they don't know how to sit still or be still, it's like the ice gives them this opportunity to feel what it's like to be at peace, even if it's in freezing cold water, and they can taste that moment and be like, well, I want this in my life more. You know, so the ice bath is just a way to train them to find that space whenever they want to.
So as far as like contraindications, is there anybody that shouldn't do cold therapy or should not do breath work, or maybe not certain types of breath work?
Sure. So there's different ones for like both of those things. The big ones would be pregnancy, and not that we can definitely say it's not good, but we just don't know.
Of course.
So it's just good to stay safe there. I think paying attention to a woman where she's at in her cycle, would be an important thing to remember. Like a woman would be able to give better advice on when, but I've heard that when a woman is in kind of the fall and winter of her cycle every month, to avoid cold plunging, but then in the spring and the summer parts of her cycle every month, that would be a more ideal time to plunge. And I don't think that women and men should do the same protocol. It seems like women's bodies handle pain better than men's bodies, but men's bodies are more resilient to colder temperatures for longer periods of time. And so as long as the water is less than 60 degrees, anybody can do it and have benefit without having to go into these like dangerously cold temperatures. Like sub 60 degrees is the threshold. But you asked me specifically about contraindications. So other than
60, that's not actually that low.
No, it's not that low. And that's enough. A lot of the good data, like the studies that showed the 250% increase in dopamine, was people like winter swimmers in Europe sitting in water that was like maybe 55 to 57 degrees, but they were there for 15 or 20 minutes doing a swim. And that's where that data came from. But we do know that the colder the water, you can still get that same benefit, but just in less time.
And what about doing a morning shower where you're just in for a few minutes in the cold water?
Yes, that works too. I can't say that it gives you the same exact numbers that a cold plunge does, but it has been shown in studies to improve immune function and resilience. People that cold shower regularly don't get sick as often or for as long. They get that same kind of resilience benefit.
God, where come to think of it, I haven't gotten sick since I've started.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah,
I think I had a head cold for half a day since then, and it's been going on 6 years.
Yeah. So there is benefit to cold. Again, it's just letting your body have that little shock is where you get the immune benefit. So
what about people with cardiac issues or seizures or any other issues that are?
Yes. Yeah. So epilepsy is one that we want to avoid. They should not cold plunge if you have epilepsy. Very, very high blood pressure that's not being treated. And then, yes, if you've recently had some sort of like surgery on your heart or like a heart attack, then you would want to avoid. But I have seen many people that have pacemakers and have had heart issues in the past safely cold plunge with no problems. But that information is constantly being updated. And so even now, as I'm talking to you, there could be more. The more that this becomes in the public spotlight, the more it gets scrutinized and studied. And so we're going to learn more and more.
So people with their health conditions should check on the updated.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would. Yeah. But there are also like haters out there that say that you should never cold plunge. And, that's not right either, but yes, we need to have balance and go ahead.
Well, it seems that humans, as we've evolved, I mean, we also think we need to eat 24/7, 365. And there's really good evidence that fasting also stimulates the body to go after, through autophagy, the zombie cells, the senescent cells. So it does seem that nature has quite a bit embedded in it that we could learn from.
Sure. Yeah. And fasting is just another type of stress on the body, right? It's this intentional controlled dose of stress, just like a cold plunge or certain types of, or exercise, even a yoga class, until you get to the end where you're laying there in Shavasana, like it's pretty hard. It's a workout, right? So yeah, it's just another form of hacking that idea of hormesis or like hormetic stress.
So you taught me something that I didn't know, which was really interesting. A lot of the breathwork people, they're doing the hyperventilation thing, which is normally what we think about when we think about breathwork. Of course, Wim Hof and his 11-minute thing, which is received I don't know how many millions of views.
Sure.
But there's another type of breath control that has to do with hypooxygenation that is also helpful. Can you describe that for our listeners?
Sure. So that would be the oxygen advantage or the Buteyko method. And they're pretty much the same thing. Patrick McEwen, he wrote a book called The Oxygen Advantage, that he's the spearhead of this type of breathwork practice, but it's been around a long time. None of this is new. We've been playing with our breath for thousands of years.
Well, especially the yoginis.
Yes. So the oxygen advantage stuff is more about breathing less, not over breathing, right? And building up a tolerance to carbon dioxide, which is what drives the urge to breathe. But carbon dioxide is not just a waste gas. It also like dilates blood vessels and opens airways and helps signal the release of oxygen from our blood cells to the cells of our tissues. And so when we overbreathe, we deplete that and we don't get the benefit from that gas. But it's also what drives air hunger. So when we hold our breath and we start to feel this anxiousness or a tightness or a panic sensation, that's being caused by the buildup of CO2. So when we can tolerate that sensation and recalibrate our body to handle higher levels of CO2, it changes our respiratory rate all the time. And so you don't even really have to do breathing exercises. That's to breathe for health.
And we talked about this before we came on the air, and it was so interesting to me that carbon dioxide need to breathe, which is, it feels like an imperative. It feels
Right.
like it's actually not that we're low in oxygen. There's still plenty of oxygen in the blood, yes. And yet we've got this very clear signal that seems like do or die.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So when someone has a very high sensitivity to CO2, they are artificially feeling that sensation
even
way
though
too often.
Via like 98, 99, 100% saturation in the blood.
It has nothing to do with blood oxygen level. Yeah, that's the thing. It's and so not to create fear, but when we chronically overbreathe and we're not aware, we could look at our blood oxygen level on the monitor and it's 100%, but that doesn't mean that our tissues are getting all of that oxygen that they need. And so there could be a deficit in the tissues. We could be more acidic in the tissues than.
And that would be somebody that chronically overbreathes?
Yes, chronic overbreathing would cause that. So it's like the more we're breathing, the less oxygen is actually getting to our tissues unless our body is matching that breath by output, right? So hyperventilation really is anytime you're breathing in excess of your body's metabolic needs. So if you're not moving, but you're breathing as if you are moving, which a lot of people do when they're sleeping, when they're just sitting on the couch, again, scrolling, anything that's like activating their nervous system, like they start to overbreathe, just breathing with the mouth instead of the nose. That alone could be hyperventilating if they're not at a high level of physical activity. So,
and we talked about how that can adversely affect, for example, I worked with somebody that, normally I have a very good batting average with insomnia, and this person, it did not budge their insomnia. That's extremely rare for me. 6 months later, they contacted me and said, hey, guess what it was? And they were mouth breather at night. And by just taping their mouth, they were able to re-pattern the way they breathed and were able to get a good night's sleep. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, the easiest breathing, if there's one breathing exercise that I would recommend everybody do, it's just close your mouth. It's that simple. Breathe through your nose when you're sleeping. Breathe through your nose when you're moving your body, unless you're at like a high level of physical activity. But people have to gradually build to that. Obviously, it doesn't just happen overnight.
So you can go out and take a fast walk and just breathe through your nose.
Yes, just breathe with your nose. Yeah,
you could do just jog.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but people that are super sensitive to CO2, they would start by just sitting and just slowing down their breath and just nose breathing just by sitting. And let's see if we can do that for a few minutes.
And when you say nose breathing, you had this wonderful example where you said, pretend you have a feather on your lip and just breathe so lightly that you're not going to disturb that feather. Right.
Yeah. That's when we're trying to really slow down our breath, right? It's like, I like to think of breath in the same way that when we talk about what I'm communicating to my body with my breath, in the same way that I would use my voice, right? So if I'm at a park with a 3-year-old and he's about to run out into the street, what kind of a voice am I going to use to get his attention? Like, it's going to be loud and powerful. But if we're laying in bed reading a story and I'm trying to help him fall asleep, my voice is going to be very soft and gentle and quiet, like a whisper. And so when I'm breathing, if I'm breathing loud and with a lot of effort and force, then I could be over breathing. But if I breathe very gentle and light and soft like a whisper when I'm at rest, then like that is a more proper breath for when we're at rest, right? So again, like the breath needs to match the movement of the body, right? The metabolic needs.
And some people stress out and they hold their breath.
Right.
So how do we know whether we're overbreathers or underbreathers?
So just by practicing regular breathing exercises for a few minutes every day, you will start to be more aware of your breath and you'll catch yourself you'll just become more aware of what you're doing. And you'll start to see like, okay, I'm breathing with my mouth right now. I need to close my mouth. Or, oh shoot, I haven't taken a breath in a while, and like we talked a little bit about the mechanism there with like what causes those unconscious breath holds throughout the day. It's really just breath awareness, and it just comes down to just practicing.
And you had a really interesting statistic about 80% of people with anxiety
and panic disorder.
Yeah. Can you tell us what that statistic was?
Sure. So in 80% of people with anxiety and panic disorder, they also have dysfunctional breathing happening. So it's most of the time it's hyperventilation. Again, which could be done simply by breathing with the mouth when you should be breathing with the nose. That alone is hyperventilation. So most people, the issue is hyperventilating, but dysfunctional breathing could also include chest breathing all the time and not allowing for expansion in the belly. It could be mouth breathing instead of nose breathing. That's dysfunctional breathing. And then also the breath holding issue. That could also play into how we're breathing at night, like sleep apnea, which is related to stress in a lot of cases. It's an obstruction a lot of times, but it's also stress.
So those people with anxiety that are over breathing, how long would it take them to learn a breathwork technique that would help them feel better or function better?
Sure. So in the short term, you could do a breathing exercise that within 3 minutes, you could slow down your heart rate, slow down the activity of the mind, and ground very, very quickly. There was studies, I believe they were out of Stanford University, showing that 5 minutes of these certain slow breathing techniques gave the same results as 30 minutes of meditation in just 5 minutes.
Can you tell us what that is? Is it Vox breathing? Is it the extended exhale?
Yeah, so it was the extended exhale was one of them, and then I believe also coherence breathing, which is a 5-second inhale followed by a 5-second exhale, and you just keep going. And you could also do it in like what I like to call just triangle breath. So instead of a box where we're breathing in, hold, breathe out, hold, it's in, out, hold. In, out, and we just.
And is the in and out the same amount of seconds, or
it could be,
or you can extend the exhale?
Yeah, you could extend the exhale, but it's the pause after the exhale that is what's super helpful there. So if someone was very sensitive to carbon dioxide, then just doing a circle breath with a longer exhale might be more comfortable for them in the beginning than doing a triangle where they're having to hold their breath. That might be too uncomfortable for them because they're so sensitive to that CO2. And so it's difficult to prescribe just a out there for everybody breathing exercise because I don't know where they're at with their CO2 tolerance. And so what might work for some person might not work for another depending on their, so you have a pretty high tolerance to CO2, but someone else might. So I could prescribe a breathing exercise for you that would send another person into a panic attack. Even they're both slow breathing exercises, right? They're both meant to slow you down. It might be too much for someone else. And so being aware of your CO2 sensitivity is helpful.
And we talked about before we started recording that in the book Breathe, they have this thing where you can actually expose somebody to carbon dioxide and for a very short amount of time it feels like you're dying even though there's plenty of oxygen in the tissues.
Yes. Yeah.
It's horrifying. Even that sensitivity to carbon dioxide is a really powerful signal in our body.
It's very, very primal. Yeah. And even people that don't have panic attacks or really experience fear, they can have a panic attack within seconds just by breathing carbon dioxide.
I think I don't think anybody's immune to that.
Right. And at the same time, that carbon dioxide is like such a beautiful medicine. When it's in the right balance in our body, it's improving our blood flow. It's opening up our blood vessels. It's opening up our airways. Overbreathing constricts the airways. It constricts the blood vessels. And so one of the symptoms of like chronic overbreathing is having cold hands and feet often. And so
that would be me.
So there's actually a whole list of symptoms. It's called the Nijmegen questionnaire that lists off about 14 symptoms of chronic hyperventilation.
Well, just having been aware of my breathing when actually, I don't know which I am. I could be a breath holder.
Sometimes we could be doing both and or throughout the day. Yeah.
Switch back and forth?
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Oftentimes that's what people do is when they hold their breath for too long, then the remedy to that is overbreathing. And so the whole thing is out of whack. There's no rhythm there. They're either under breathing or they're over breathing all day long, and their nervous system is interpreting those signals as threats.
So tell us about some of the people that you've worked with. What were they struggling with before they started learning your breath work process? And, afterwards, what were they free from?
So the first one that's coming to mind is a good friend of mine. He's a college student out in Knoxville at is it University of Tennessee or UT? UT Knoxville, right? Anyway, he's a very good athlete, basketball player, personal trainer. And he was dealing with anxiety and panic disorder, and he was on medication for that. And he was referred to me by a mutual friend. I started working with him, and I got him doing some slow breathing stuff, some carbon dioxide tolerance exercises, and some nervous system regulation exercises. When you breathe in a certain pattern, it either tells the body to go into fight or flight, or it tells it to go into rest and digest. And so I gave him some simple protocols to follow. And within a few months, he was no longer having panic attacks, and he was off of all of his medications that he was on. And I didn't tell him to get off of the meds. Like, that was his choice. That was his choice.
That's between them and their doctor.
Right. Yeah. But he was able to do that. And he was also incorporating cold plunging into that practice as well.
Fantastic.
But I mean, what a blessing to be rid of that thing so quickly.
Yeah.
Just like making a shift.
Tell us more. I know you've got dozens. Tell us more.
Oh, wow. Oh gosh. I'm struggling to think of like one person off the top of my. Well, just recently, I've been teaching a class for the last couple of years at the YMCA, close to my home, and I've had people coming for 2 years almost to that class, and they just come in and then they leave. And then the other day I made the announcement that I would no longer be doing that class because my life is changing. And I had a gentleman come up to me, and he couldn't hold back tears. And he said, he said, when I first came to your class, I had just, my wife and I had a miscarriage. And I was being dosed with like this chronic anxiety. He's like, I didn't really know that I had that, but I've been dealing with it my whole life. And he said, like, learning these breathing exercises has been profoundly helpful in helping me control my anxiety and find peace, and to work through the emotional state of, going through a miscarriage and just being a parent and a husband, and he was very, very emotional. I had no idea, because he would just come in, thank you, he'd leave. I had no idea that I'd had that kind of effect on him.
That's so,
yeah.
Another thing that I love about your work, similar to the way I do it, I don't want to be the person that somebody has to depend on for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
People come to me, they do the 3 sessions, and then they're on their way.
Sure.
And you also like to do 3 modules with people and then have them have new tools to just go live their life.
Yeah.
Talk a little more about that.
Sure. So my mindset with this is, they're already breathing all the time, and we just have to bring some awareness to how it's affecting them, and then show them things that they can do to shift. And it doesn't take long to learn those things. And then it's just about practice, right? But it's a little too much to do in one session if we're going to cover, like more of the like the Wim Hof style of breathing that's about like energy and excitement and adrenaline and altered consciousness.
DMT.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the other side, which is this kind of slow breathing stuff. So it's too overwhelming to do in one session. But my goal is just to show them how to do these things, bring it to their awareness, give them like simple tools. Like I do an assessment with the client where I see how sensitive they are to CO2. I have a couple of different tests that I'll do with them. And then I'll check their breathing mechanics, nose versus mouth, belly versus chest. And then it's very easy from there to just give them little protocols to follow. And all they have to do is just stick with it. And it's not something they have to set aside time to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I don't want them to feel like they constantly have to come to me for their breath. Like that's their power, their tool. I just want to show them like, hey, this is where you might be needing to make an adjustment, to make the adjustment, stick with it, and you're going to be fine. We are powerful beings, and we have so much more power than we've been told that we have.
When you're working with people online, because you put that little monitor on me to see what my oxygen level was,
Mm-hmm.
do you have them get their own meter?
No, they don't need that. The reason I use that is to articulate that they are feeling the urgency to breathe way before there's any sort of physiological change.
Really interesting.
Right? Yeah.
To notice that my body, had to take a deep breath, even though I still had, 98, 99%.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so when someone is super anxious or panicky, then they feel that air hunger and they think, oh my God, I'm not getting air. And then that just exacerbates the whole panic response, right? It just makes it that much worse, and it makes them overbreathe.
Have you shipped out people that have panic attacks and have them get relief just from knowing that it had nothing to do with oxygen deprivation?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
I would think that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
So the people, because you have worked a lot in the treatment facility area, people that are rehabbing from various things. Can you share with us what people have said to you regarding how helpful it is when coming off of substances, be they, I don't know, alcohol, illegal drugs, and prescription medications?
Sure. Yeah, just hearing feedback from people that they're able to feel ways in their bodies without using any substances that they thought they could only achieve with substances. Like I have a client, this was back in Utah, who was originally a barber client of mine, and he was in addiction recovery. And he was in AA, and he came to my house and he did an ice bath, and he was just pacing back and forth in the yard afterwards. And he was just like, this is a big deal, Steven. Like, this is a really big deal. I don't think you know what a big deal this is. He's like, I had no idea I could feel like this without drugs. And I had done a breathwork session with him first, and then we did the cold plunge. And he's like, I had no idea that I could do this for myself. I always thought I needed something else, something external. And he's like, you just showed me that I have the power within myself to alter my own consciousness and to process through my feelings and to give myself a rush, so to speak, in a safe, healthy way.
With good side effects rather than negative side effects.
Exactly. Yeah. And I did want to mention too, outside of the whole anxiety and panic and treatment aspect, I have seen great success with clients that are just trying to improve their athletic performance, where someone was running X amount of miles at a certain pace, but they had to mouth breathe. And then we got them breathing with the nose, and then it slowed them down at first. But after a little bit of time, as their body and their brain recalibrated to those higher levels of CO2, they were running faster and longer than they ever had before, and just using their nose to breathe. And so there's a whole side of this that is for exercise as well, and in performing your athletic performance. But I mean, there's breathing for sleep, there's breathing for digestion, and it's all kind of the same stuff. It's just shifting your nervous system. And so I don't think there's one person in any aspect of life that couldn't benefit from just being more aware of their breath and knowing how to use it to shift their nervous system in the moment to be in the state that they want to be in.
I would agree, having used it the amount that I have. So again, for people that are are in whatever phase of coming off of substances, be they alcohol, prescription drugs, illegal drugs, as a help to whatever they're doing with their recovery, can you share with us some of the feedback you've gotten on that?
Yeah, it's
because you used it. You used it to.
Sure. Yeah, I did. Yeah, like it helped me come off of anti-anxiety medication and antidepressants, and
this is obviously for people who are choosing that. We're working with their doctors. We're not weighing in on that, but if somebody is struggling to come off of something that they desire to come off of in a healthy way.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. It's been, again, just reminding them that, like, oh, wait a minute, I can do this by myself. But again, like, I recommend, if people want to come off of their medications, to go through their doctor and to like taper it and go very, very slowly. But yes, the main feedback I get is that I'm not as reactive to things as I used to be. I'm able to find my zen quickly after an event, and and then they're realizing that that they don't need these extra things to achieve states of peace and to like reclaim their nervous system and their mental health, like, without needing to constantly look outward and be dependent on outward things. Like, our DNA responds to our breath in such a better way than it responds to like something that was made in a lab. It's like it was made to do that, right? And like in breath, as I'm going to use a phrase from one of my mentors, Jesse Coomer, who has a program called The Language of Breath. And it's really what it is. Like, breathing is a way to speak to the body when like the thoughts or the words fail, right? Like the body interprets inhales and exhales and breath holds differently. And it's a very simple, primal, quick language that you can get a message from here to here, and a way for the body to get a message from here to here. So breath is a beautiful bridge between the mind and the heart, I like to say.
What do you think the biggest misconception is that people have about breath work?
That breath work is only this hyperventilation type of altered consciousness type of experience, and that the answer to everything breath work wise is to breathe more and have and like hyperventilate or breathe more. Like everybody thinks they're not breathing enough, when in most cases they're breathing too much. And to slow everything down, close the mouth, use the nose, make it softer. Like those are the things that are breathing for life. The hyperventilation stuff is breathing for fun. And so when someone says they do breath work, they could be,
and they can overdo that,
exacerbating things more than helping them. While it's taking them maybe out of a moment of anxiety, it's quieting the mind a little bit. Hyperventilation breathing, breathwork does a great job of quieting the mind. It powers through all the noise of the mind, but that can exacerbate symptoms for someone that is chronically over breathing all the time anyway.
Good to
right?
know.
So yeah, I would look more into oxygen advantage type stuff than if you're looking for a new way of experiencing breath work, and see what that does.
Actually, I don't remember where I heard it, but there was a woman that had some array of symptoms, and it was because she was doing breath of fire every day. It was just not appropriate for her.
Yeah, that's just fight or flight stuff, and it has a time and a place.
Biggest misconceptions of ice therapy or cold exposure?
Okay, I'm going to be a real rebel here when I say this. In my personal opinion, the biggest misconception is that you have to follow a protocol, that you have to do it a certain way at a certain temperature for a certain amount of time. And I think that the more that people do that, especially because it's such an extreme stress on the body, that they can burn out on it very, very quickly. And the results will start to go backwards very, very quickly with something like, it's a very powerful medicine. And so my advice is that you keep it playful. If you feel like doing it, do it. When you get in, experience it, get out while you still feel good. Get rid of this, I have to push myself to the extreme. The idea that more cold exposure is better. Like if this is healthy for me, the more I do it, the more healthy. That's not true. Keep it playful. And if you feel like you need to take a break from it, if you're getting out and not feeling good, then stop for a while. That is okay. All right. When we operate from fear with all of these health protocols, I don't care if it's a diet, whatever it is, if you're doing it from fear, from like, if I don't do this, then I might get sick, I might get cancer, I might this, then I don't think it helps. And I'm speaking from experience because I've made myself sick by trying so hard to do all of these protocols so perfectly. So drop that and just have fun with it. Let cold exposure be playful. All right. Just have fun. Do it because you love it, not because you're afraid of it.
You know what? One question I always ask people at the end of the thing is, in fact, I'll ask you, if you were to go back to and talk to 10-year-old Steven, what would you say to him?
Oh, wow. Like about anything? Or
yeah, you got 5 minutes to talk to 10-year-old Steven. What would you like to say to him?
Oh, geez. I would tell him that absolutely to trust himself, to trust his intuition, to trust what his heart is telling him, to remember that he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that he's a powerful being.
Yeah.
And that even when he does everything right and it still doesn't work out, that doesn't mean that he did anything wrong or there's something wrong with him. Yeah. Like, we're not here for just total bliss and joy. We're here for the whole party. It's the ups and the downs, the pain and the pleasure. We're here to like learn how to surf, not how to be safe or be stuck in one state all the time. And if you can't be happy constantly, that there's something wrong with us. Like, we're here for the whole thing.
Nice.
Happiness, sadness, pain and pleasure, loneliness and community. We're here for all of it. Right?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's what I would say.
And well, gosh, those are such beautiful words. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Steven?
No, just thank you for having me on. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to be able to share this thing that I'm so passionate about. And
Thank you.
I'm just grateful for you and the example that you.
Oh, I do have actually one more question. Well, first of all, how do people find you? Where do they get in touch with you? How can they get more of Steven?
Sure. So if you want to contact me through my website, it's just stevenroccazzella.com or icelifetn.com.
Okay.
ICELIFETN. You can get to the same website both ways.
And spell your last name as it's not so.
That's right. It's ROCCAZZELLA. And then I'm also on Instagram, just Steven_Roccazzella, the last name.
And before we did this, we did a one-on-one where you guided me through breathing, and I could totally see the value of doing a one-on-one with a pro that knows what they're doing, because that was just exquisite. I'd love to just get your opinion of the pros and cons of doing a one-on-one and the pros and cons of doing a group breathwork experience, because you've worked with Deep Tropics, which is like an immense group outdoor festival here in Nashville.
Right. So there is something really, really beautiful about being in a group setting and breathing together. And oftentimes in my breathwork sessions where I'm guiding people with the music, I try to get everybody synced up with each other, and there's nothing like that. It's so powerful and so fun, and for some people, being around others, it gives them permission to let their emotions fly, to laugh, to cry, and then for others, it doesn't quite work that way for them. They get a little shy in a group setting, and so doing one-on-ones can be beneficial in that way when we want to go a little bit deeper into it's easier to do a breath assessment on one person than a whole group, and I can really prescribe a specific breath protocol based off of where they're at in their journey.
I
Those
definitely experienced that when we were working together, because it was just like it was tailored, because you just know what you're doing so well, and that was just really wonderful.
Thank you.
Great way to liven up your day.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's always there for you whenever you want.
Well, Steven, thank you so much for being here. I love your expertise. I love breathwork, and I really hope that more people get to experience it and just mine what is available in the breathwork world.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Folks, share this with anybody that you think could benefit from it, and we will see you on the next episode of Next Level Healing. This podcast is intended for the purpose of providing information and education. It does not provide advice and is not meant to be used for any self-diagnosis or the replacement of any kind of licensed professional. The creators and individuals appearing here do not endorse any specific tests, positions, medications, products, or procedures. The views and opinions are expressed in this podcast are of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.